Hey guys, on this video I wanted to talk about Emmet. We will see what it is and how we can use it to make our coding lives more productive. All major code editors allow us to create snippets, which are basically shorthands for chunks of code we use over and over. Now, Emmet is a toolkit of predefined snippets we can use to make our lives easier. On its core, it supports HTML and CSS. We can extend it using other plugins in order to support, let's say, React or Twig or Vue, all major JavaScript libraries. And the great part is that you don't have to do anything. It comes pre-packaged on Visual Studio Code, and I'm pretty sure all other major code editors support it either by installing it or they have it pre-installed. Hey guys, before we continue with the video, I want to let you know about my Skillshare class. It's an introduction to React Native where you can learn about the basic React and React Native concepts, and by the end of the course you will know how to create your own mobile application. I'll put a link in the description which gives you 2 weeks free trial on Skillshare. So if you ever wanted to learn how to create your own mobile app, go check it out. So here we have an empty HTML file, and instead of writing the HTML structure code by ourselves, we will use the exclamation mark, which is a shorthand of Emmet that creates a basic HTML document. It basically has the doc type, the HTML tag, the head with some meta tags and the title, and also the body, which is empty. Of course, we will also need some styles, so let's add one by typing link CSS tab, and we have the link tag here, which is a style sheet, and it points to the style.css file, which we can of course change. Now let's create our first element inside the body. We will start by creating a title. It's simple as that. We just write h1 and hit tab. Now we can write the text by ourselves, or we can go back and write h1 and then add some curly braces and type the text we want here, the title. Go to the end of the line, hit tab, and we have our title ready. Now let's remove this and create the same element again, but with a class. h1 dot the class and then the text. So when we wrote dot the class, it created the h1 element with the class as the class. In the same fashion, we can create IDs, combine it with classes, class 1, class 2, we can write as many as we want, and then the text. Hit tab, and then we have the h1 again with an ID and 2 classes. But what about custom attributes? We can create custom attributes this way. So h1 and let's say data thingy equals to the main title, and let's create also the text, the title, hit tab, and now we have an h1 element with a custom attribute that we created. Of course, as we already saw with the class and the ID, we can combine all those together. So h1, the ID, class 1, and then the custom attribute data thingy equals to the title. And also the text will be, let's say, lorem ipsum this time. And as expected, we have the h1 element with an ID, a class, and a custom attribute. Now let's say we want an h1 as we said, and then we want a div. Those are basically siblings. We could do the same thing by writing h1 plus div. It would create the h1 as expected, and as a sibling, because we wrote the plus symbol, it created the div. But how about nesting? Let's say we have the div, and inside this div we want a paragraph. We can achieve this by typing div and then use the bigger than symbol, P tag, which stands for paragraph, and then write the text you want for the paragraph. Now let's say we want to have a list, and we want this list to have 5 items. We could do this by hand by multiplying the list items, or we can use Emmet to make our lives easier. So ul li times 5. So basically times number multiplies the element we are creating by the number. When we are multiplying the element, we can use this number. So maybe we want to say each item has the class item and the number 1, 2, 3 to 5. We can use a $sign in order to get the number of the iteration, like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It can also be used in IDs and also inside the text, like this. Also, we can give some padding to the number. So let's say we use $2 symbols for the text. It will give us 01, 02, 03 and so on and so forth. Of course, if we wrote 3, it would do 001 and so on. Now that we have the basic feeling of how Emmet works, I want to talk about 2 more things, grouping and climbing up, which are the 2 things that will help us compose HTML documents. So let's say I want to have an H1, the title, and as a sibling I want to have a div that will have a paragraph inside it, lorem ipsum, and then the paragraph will have a sibling which will be a button. Now we will use grouping first in order to create a second sibling for, let's say we have the H1 div with the children and then another div. We will group all these inside parentheses and then continue by creating the second sibling. Let's say div, and this div will have an anchor which will be a link and also some text. Let's say paragraph, and this is a link that if you click does things. Now if we hit tab, we will see that we have the title and then the first div with the paragraph and the button, and another div as a sibling to the other that has the link we created and the paragraph. There is another more complex way to do this, and it's called climbing up. So we have the title, and then we have the div, and the div has a paragraph. Now we won't just have the paragraph, and then we're going to go up. So we use the caret and then create the other div, which will have, let's say, an anchor. So we created the H1, the div, the paragraph, and then when Emmet saw the caret symbol, it went one step up and created the div. Of course, we can climb up as many steps as we'd like. So let's say we have a div that has a list with an item which has an anchor that has a span. Let's say the text. Now we want to create a sibling to the div. We have to go up 4 times. 1 for the span, and then 1 for the anchor, the list item, the link, the list, and then we create a div. So simple as that. We climbed up 4 steps to create a sibling to the div. Once you learn how to use Emmet, your life will be so much easier, you will be more productive, and you will be writing more code without having to think of elements and attributes and all this stuff. You can do everything with Emmet very fast and easy. As you saw, composition can become very complex and hard to follow, so I would suggest that you create small chunks of code one by one instead of trying to create the whole document at once. That's all for today. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit the like button and also subscribe because it's very helpful to me. Also, let me know down in the comments what else you want to see from this channel. I'll see you next time.